Hay veces que pareciera que los miembros del gabinete de Donald Trump, cuando no están cometiendo actos corruptos, cuando no están robando millones de dólares al país, cuando no están afectando tu economía personal, siendo que no tienen nada más tonto que hacer que buscar estupideces dentro de su casa, pues siempre buscan la forma de avergonzarse a sí mismos. Y esto se vio hace unos días con la EPA de Donald Trump. La EPA es la Agencia de Protección Ambiental de Estados Unidos. El director de esta agencia se llama Zeldon, y este se metió en una pelea a gritos con el senador White House, después de haber sido atrapado en múltiples mentiras, cometiendo perjurio, y luego tuvo un colapso. Este lo tuvo cuando fue confrontado por el senador Adam Schiff. Todo esto fue un completo desastre. Ahora, por supuesto que te voy a mostrar todo esto y lo tengo en video, pero comencemos con el primer senador, Zeldon Whitehouse.
You stated during your House E&C hearing that you personally reviewed all these grants. Here's what you said. I was the one who made the decision. And I made the decision after doing individual review. I personally reviewed every single grant that I canceled. Now, you guys are going to have to start getting your stories straight, because there are three completely different statements, and they cannot all be true. It cannot be that Voiles personally himself conducted the review of 781.
He did.
And that Coogan saw to it that it was individually done.
Others did. It's a crazy concept, Senator, but maybe more than one person was individually reviewing these grants. Maybe they were working on it for more than one day, Senator.
Will you
thought about that concept? What about the fact
when
that
their testimony is that they did it all on one day? No, I do not.
Every single time.
I do not agree with that, Administrator.
Senator.
He swore in court that he did it on one day. So you can't now come in and say that that's false.
On a day after you worked on it,
He
busting
didn't
your
say.
ass for a while to get all of your ducks lined up,
That's
to
not
do
what
all
he
the
said.
research, to ask questions, to make sure you're making responsible decisions.
None of that is what he
Because they're
said.
not worried that there's going to be some ranking member at the
None of that is
UPW
what he
committee
said.
who doesn't care about the facts.
None of that is what he said. I'm using the facts as your employees
I conducted
stated
an
them.
individual review of everything, and that concept doesn't work for you.
When did you conduct an individualized
Work on it
review
every
of
single
781
because
grants?
we have a zero tolerance
Will you
policy
show me
towards
your
wasting
schedule?
dollars. We inherit something. You don't care about wasting money.
Will you show me
you
your
don't care
schedule?
about wasting money, but the Trump administration does, Senator.
Will you show me your schedule?
Our schedule's publicly released. We don't put on the schedule every single moment
Will you
of
show
the
me
day
your
that
schedule
It's
to
publicly
prove
released.
your assertion
I'm
that
here
you
under
did
oath,
individualized
Senator.
review of
They're
781?
under oath telling you that I was reviewing this stuff and working on it almost every single day.
And the
Why?
problem
because
with
when
that-
I was before this committee, I was asked by Senator Ricketts, if confirmed, would I immediately make this a top priority to go through all the grant funding going through EPA to make sure that we are cracking down on every waste, every aspect of abuse. Because I have to come back here in front of Senator Ricketts today. And even though you don't care about wasting tax dollars, Senator Ricketts does.
And the
I'm
problem-
going to do my job because the American public
And the
cares
problem-
about us not wasting tax dollars.
And the problem with your assertion here today is that it is belied by your own employees' sworn statements in court and by the decision of the
Senator,
Department of
you're not
Justice
grasping
to
the fact-
admit that what you
No,
say
you're
isn't
not grasping
true.
the fact that we would have multiple employees looking at these grants. That concept just escapes you like that's even a possibility.
The only
You
thing
come
about
here
that is that
and
that's
you don't
not
care
true.
about 99% of the story.
That's not true according to your own
You're not
employees'
grasping
testimony.
it, Senator. I don't know what to say to you. You're insisting on the fact.
I'm
that
insisting on the facts.
that
That's
he
exactly
only-
what I'm insisting
Yes,
on. I'm
okay.
insisting on the facts, and I now have
I will
three
say
different
again
versions of the facts,
that Travis
including
Voiles
Department
and
of
I
Justice
and others
lawyers
are working on this every
who
single
admitted
day that
in
we're
court
in
that what you're
office.
saying
and we're
now
not going
is
to
not
waste
true.
dollars just because you insist on EPA lighting taxpayer dollars on fire. The American taxpayers, they put President Trump in office because of people like you. They have Republicans in charge of the House and Senate because of people like you. Because you don't care about 99% of this story. You don't want me to go through the list of all the evidence of waste and abuse. You
No,
don't
what
care
I want you to do-
in conflicts of interest.
What I
don't
want
care
you to
about
do-
unqualified recipients. You don't care about
What I
reduced
want you to
agency
do
oversight.
is explain why the Department of Justice lawyers representing EPA in court under a duty of candor have said that everything you've just said isn't true. That's what I want. Get me that answer.
Cuando te atrapan en una mentira y cuando estás cometiendo perjurio y lo haces frente al Congreso y terminas recurriendo simplemente a gritar y vociferar y luego hacer ataques personales, no terminas siendo el ganador, ¿verdad? Obviamente estas actitudes son de alguien que pierde. Y todo esto pasa cuando algo dentro de ti colapsa, o sea, colapsaste. Comienzas a tener actos irrisorios, comienzas a gritar y desesperarte. Y esto fue exactamente lo que pasó en el Congreso. Yo siento que actualmente cada vez que escuchamos hablar a cualquier miembro del gabinete de Donald Trump y nos ponemos a escuchar detalladamente lo que dicen, se dan cuenta de que no unen una palabra con la otra, no tienen oraciones bien establecidas, ni siquiera saben lo que están diciendo, pareciera que simplemente están leyendo algo, porque son simplemente muy incompetentes. Y yo creo que estos son los temas principales de esta administración, la incompetencia y por supuesto la corrupción. Y algo de eso fue señalado por el senador Adam Schiff en esta intervención que estoy a punto de mostrarte.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ambassador Zeldon, you've only been at the EPA for a few months, but in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California, provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk.
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest,
And are
you have the
you-
biggest
are you-
state, so we're
and
going to
are
have to
you-
go through every single list of the grant.
Well,
by the way, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldon.
You've forgot about the fact of cleaning up
I have
after
to think,
LA
Mr. Zeldon,
wildfires.
I think, Mr. Zeldon,
President when I was in San Diego.
if your children were
the
drinking
Tijuana River
water,
sewage crisis,
if your
apparently we're
children
going
were
out on our
drinking
own for
water
that.
in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldon, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you
gentleman's
need
time has
because
expired.
you
Who said
need
that? The whole
the
thing,
money for a
everything
tax
you
cut
said
for rich people
your time. It's all
because
make-believe.
you're totally beholden to the oil industry.
The
You could
gentleman's time-
you could give a rat's ass about how much
It is.
cancer
Because
your
people
agency
you're trying to
causes.
destroy.
The
Impeach,
gentleman's
resist.
time has expired.
Siempre decimos que Donald Trump y todo el movimiento MAGA únicamente se enfocan en la crueldad y la corrupción. Y ciertamente ese es el caso aquí. Ellos quieren que las cosas se rompan. Quieren que tú y yo creamos que el gobierno no puede funcionar. Pero obviamente ellos quieren separarte, o sea, que tú no creas en el gobierno para que creas únicamente en ellos. Quieren que tú no confíes en nadie más que en ellos. Que pienses que el gobierno limita al país. ¿Por qué pasa esto? Porque el gobierno es lo único que puede detener a Donald Trump. Los jueces son los únicos que pueden detener a Donald Trump. Por eso él lentamente quiere quitarle poderes a estas autoridades, para que él sea el único que tenga poder. Y lo disfraza con comentarios como el gobierno te está haciendo pobre, como por culpa del gobierno estás como estás, o todo esto está pasando por culpa del gobierno. Cuando no, lo que pasa es por la culpa de él. Obviamente él conforma al gobierno, pero él se refiere a los jueces, él se refiere a que los jueces, como no lo apoyan, no apoyan al gobierno, o sea, al Estado, y por ende son malos. Pero lo que pasa es que los jueces no son tontos, los jueces no viven de lo que él quiera. A diferencia de todo su gabinete, que si el gabinete de Donald Trump le dice, no Trump, eso está mal, despedido. Donald Trump no acepta personas más inteligentes, o mejor dicho, Donald Trump no acepta personas inteligentes dentro de su gabinete. La administración de Donald Trump es pésima, incoherente, incapaz, y podríamos buscar un montón de sinónimos para buscar la palabra que todos sabemos. Corruptos, porque el gobierno de Donald Trump es corrupto. Busca la forma de adueñarse de todos ellos. No le importa a los demás, solo quieren llenar sus bolsillos. Y la persona que no opina igual que Donald Trump, porque sí, hay varias personas que les gustaría estar dentro del gobierno para poder aportar y ayudar. Y estas personas son las que Donald Trump no quiere ahí. Y ha despedido, de hecho. Pero bueno, si te gusta este contenido, me encantaría que me lo pongas en los comentarios, ya que me encanta saber que te gusta esto. Cualquier corrección o cosa que te guste saber, también la puedes poner. Recuerda que si este tipo de videos te gustan, te encantará suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.